This conference will now be recorded.
That's right. All right. So let's see here. So basically, this all came about. Me and Audrey were talking the other day, and she was asking a couple questions about about kind of where I thought that things were going to be going, um, kind of over the next few months or this year, and what's kind of a good thing to do right now. And I started answering her, and then I was like, you know what? I'd love for other people to have answers for this too, because it really is something where, um, you know, based on my set of circumstances, I have a certain response to certain things. I have certain opinions, and one of the big reasons that I started making Midwest at the beginning was because I want other people to have um, feedback and things. I want other people to kind of give advice. I want people to get out of these echo chambers. So rather than just giving her the advice that I would have, and I probably will at some point anyway, I thought it'd be a good idea to really open this up and again, like I said, I'll give some of my feedback on some things, but I definitely want to hear from other people too. So how we'll do this, basically, I have um, probably 5 or 6 kind of questions that kind of spark a conversation. I definitely have no desire of sitting here and talking the entire time. Uh, but at the same time, like I just want to make sure that we're having a valuable conversation. So um, I might call on a few of you. So I'm still in still in class mode a little bit. So if I treat this like it's like school, I apologize. Um, so I might call some of you out randomly, like Mike Beaumont there. Yeah, Mike, glad you can make it, man. Anyway, so yeah, and also here, so we'll start with a question, and then I'm going to talk about a little bit what we're going to do with Making Midwest this year, just for like a few minutes, and then we'll get back to some more conversation. We'll see where this goes. I'm thinking about an hour. We'll see what happens. Yeah, cool. All right, here we go. Oh, the other thing I'll say is if you have any questions at any point, or if you want to say something, it's going to be difficult because we can't all just shout at the same time. So what I'm going to do is kind of play a role of moderator as well. And basically, anytime that your microphone is turned on, I'm going to treat that as your hand is raised and you kind of want to have something to say there. And then we'll kind of go around that way. I think it'll be easier so nobody's talking over anybody else and everybody gets a fair chance here. Cool? Sounds, yeah, there it is. We're learning the thumbs up here. Okay, there we go. So first thing I'll say is, and I'm not sure if any of you or all of you are on yet, but last week I started a Slack channel for us. If you hear any kids screaming, it's like bedtime in like 2 minutes. Really couldn't have planned this any better, but um, basically last week started a Slack channel, trying to think of ways to actually get the community together in more, I don't know, useful ways. Than us just kind of seeing each other on social media. I think there's something better to be done here. So um, I didn't expect the response that we got from it, and which is really cool. I'm really excited about it. We have over 100 people on there right now. We've had some really good conversations so far. My goal is to, just like here, play moderator and try to spark as many great conversations as we can possibly have. I think it's a really cool place for us to be able to bring some things up that, I don't know, might not be as easy to talk about on things like LinkedIn or Facebook. A place where everybody kind of understands a little bit more. I mean, you could, I guess, describe that as a community. And yeah, so my hope again is we have a great conversation there. We can have a great conversation here. If you're not on there yet, there should be a link in profile, it says here. This is from Instagram. If you go to Instagram on the profile there, the link is directly to joining the Slack channel. So if you're not on there yet, go ahead and do it. Cool. So let's get started. So the first thing that I wanted to kind of bring up, and I think it's kind of the more obvious thing, is all the layoffs and all of the, I guess, for freelancers, all of the people backing out of projects. And I'm not sure if anybody has kind of experienced any of this yet, but I'd love to hear just kind of any stories you guys have of layoffs, or kind of what your situation is right now. Um, yeah, I know that's a weird way to tee this up, but um, yeah. Anybody? Mark.
I just learned my friend literally 10 minutes ago. I shared this with her to see if she could join, and then learned that she was laid off yesterday. She's a full-time graphic designer for a company in Pittsburgh for the last almost 9 years. So she was excited to see this and hopefully has an opportunity to find some new work.
Yeah, that's, I think it's crazy, like thinking about the time frame that people are getting laid off. To be honest, I thought it was kind of strange when people, like, we're like 1 week into this, and then all of a sudden there's just tons of people getting laid off. Um, for me, I thought that was kind of weird. Like, I don't know, weird, and it's not. I think that a lot of people, maybe kind of business owners, they kind of knew, like, okay, this isn't going to go well, so they got to protect themselves as much as they can at that moment. Um, but then I think that this is kind of the second wave of layoffs I think that we're seeing right now, because it's the people that tried to hang on as long as they can, and now, they tried, and it's like, oh no. Um, luckily there's some, government loans that have been kind of going around. I'm not sure if you guys know about any of that stuff. Luckily I was able to actually get one of them, which pretty much saved us. Um, for us, we had probably 2 or 3 projects lined up at the end of March, and all of them were like, we can't do it right now. Like we have to wait. Like, everything is going fine for them at that moment, and I think this is kind of the case with a lot of people. Like, things were like working as normal, but they know that something, that they have to try to do something at that moment. And yeah. Anybody else? Charles?
My perspective is a little bit weird in terms of the layoff situation, just because like I'm at the state house and I see all these people like outside picketing and saying like they need that opportunity. And because of that, I've gotten more work in a weird roundabout way. Like I talked to you a while ago about those animations. They still wanted those animations, and they wanted them like during the pandemic. Like they wanted them made. So they were like, you have more time. So now I've gotten more work from outside clients as well as my current position.
Is everything you're doing right now, is that kind of related more towards the pandemic, or is it just kind of random stuff?
Random, a lot of random. I mean, there's a couple of people who are like, they have social media and they can't, or they did like events in city and they can't reach out to those people. So they want like graphics or animations or something along those lines to put on their social media to get stuff done, or to stay relevant. That's a better word.
Yeah. And I want to talk a little bit more about that in a little bit. There's definitely like a lot that I want to say about like kind of potential opportunities right now. Yeah. Anybody else having some things there? Mike, you got something?
Yeah, we've been lucky so far at Space Junk. I mean, we definitely saw a number of projects get postponed and go on hold or just cancel, in the early weeks. We did get our PPP loan, which was big. I mean, it was huge for us. And we've got about 18 people on payroll, so that was a big help. And it's been slow, but in the past couple weeks, we've been starting to see new work coming in. We've already done a COVID-related shoot last week. Everyone in masks, socially distanced, wiping everything down, being as safe with our people and our client as we can. We've gotten a number of requests this week for new videos, animation and live action to address, what what businesses are doing to as they reopen. So I do think we'll see as an industry opportunity throughout the year. Most of my friends that have been laid off, I have a couple that have been laid off in the creative industry, but most of them are my friends in the food industry, you know, chef friends, restaurant worker friends. They've been hit really hard, obviously. I do think we're lucky, you know, overall to be in the communications business, no matter where we fall in that, because everyone's going to need to be communicating messages to their clients, to their, you know, to the people they sell to, the consumers or their customers, whoever those are. So I think ultimately we're all set up pretty well because people are going to need our help. So I feel pretty lucky personally, even though I have had friends in our industry laid off too.
Definitely. That's something I've been thinking a lot about too. It's like, actually, hold on a sec. Let me see right here real quick. Yeah, there we go. So this thought has come across my mind a lot. I think it's a good segue here. Is like, does creativity matter right now? Does marketing matter? Does advertising matter right now? Is that, like, you know, that's what I keep on falling back to. It's like, is that the reason why people are deciding that they don't want to do projects right now, or is it something else? Go back to you on that one, Mike.
Well, I think, you know, there's nothing the business world hates more than uncertainty because you can't plan. You know, you can't plan hiring, you can't plan your advertising, you can't plan anything when the future is so uncertain. And I can't think of a more uncertain time than we've had in the past 2 months. I mean, nobody knows a lot about the virus. There isn't enough testing to know really even how many people are infected or what the fatality rate is from it, because we're only testing medical workers, or mostly testing medical workers, or those in say prisons or nursing homes or long-term care facilities, and a lot of those individuals are at risk. So the fatality rates are probably a little higher than what they are in actuality. But regardless, we just don't have a lot of great data. So I think with all of that uncertainty, everyone's kind of frozen and nobody really knows what to do. I think we're just starting to come out of that a little bit now, at least anecdotally. It seems like we're now starting to get some people that are, you know, they know they have to move, they know they have to get their message out there. And I think they'll be relying on us to help them craft those messages. Of course, a lot of it is, you know, best practices from the medical world. You know, this is what the CDC says we should do, or this is what the Ohio Department of Health says we should do, or wherever everybody is. But that message still needs to be crafted. It still needs to be put out there in a way that's palatable, or that's visually engaging, or whatever. So, and ultimately, I think over the course of the year, everyone's going to need to show their clients or their customers that everything's okay, that it's okay to shop again, that it's okay to buy their product again, that it's okay to, you know, whatever the message is. And we're the ones that I think know best how to craft that message, whether it's through graphic design, or whether it's through illustration, or whether it's through storytelling, or whatever it is. So I think creativity is going to be critical. It always is, but I think especially in the next year, I think it's creativity matters more than ever. Not just for selling things, of course, too, but just for our souls, you know?
Yeah,
I mean,
no,
the books we read and the movies we watch and the things we create to get through being in quarantine. Of course, you know, I've been trying to learn flash photography and baking bread, and, you know, things that I've been meaning to get to over the years. And so that creativity is keeping me, you know, going through this, those little side things.
Yeah, so actually this whole thing was just a ruse for me to get you on here to talk about you baking bread. Seriously, the bread that you're making a sourdough, and it looks freaking amazing, and I can't do that, and I just I don't know.
No, I just follow directions.
I just got a bread pan, and I still have beer from last Making Midwest because I don't drink it, so it just sits in my basement. And I was like, man, there's something I can do with this beer. And then somebody posted something about beer bread, and I was like, yep, that's what I'm gonna do. And it was delicious. I was like, oh, yeah,
There you go.
So-
See, we can always have a. If you want any of my sourdough advice, I'm certainly not an expert in it by any means, but we
Dude,
can.
it looks like
We
it.
can.
Maybe it's just
we can
your photos. I don't know.
Yeah, it's all an illusion.
Yeah.
First
Awesome.
annual bread baking making Midwest.
Right.
Listen,
Baking
I'm down. Baking Midwest. Damn it, there it is. Yeah. Anybody else have anything they want to add to this? I'd love to hear some more opinions of just kind of how you feel about kind of the role of creativity right now. And obviously we know that health is the most important thing, but I'm curious how everybody else kind of feels about this. I certainly have my own opinions, but again, I want to open it up to you guys. And again, you can just turn on your mic and I can call on you if you want. But
I think I think it's in times of turmoil, I think like the artistic side of creativity is actually the most powerful. I think like everyday life, we tend to focus on the advertising and the marketing and all that side of creativity, which is really important and it's really fun and it's really exciting and there's a lot of really great ideas. But like you see like painters who are able to like express emotion and poets who are able to like capture those emotions in words and photographers who are able to like grab a hold of like the mood of just the state of life. Like they tend to kind of rise to the top in times like this. That's like why I think it's probably like Time magazine or something, like magazines like that put like the photo of the year or like the image of the year or something like that. It's always from times of like great distress or like regions that are like suffering through something. So I think like that artistic piece of it really kind of taps into something in our humanity that we all need. It's like what Michael said. It's like it's good for our soul, right?
Mhm.
To be able to connect with other humans in that kind of whatever media it is.
Yeah, that kind of takes me to that quote by Winston Churchill where he was like, I don't know, they wanted to cut the arts budget, and he said that if we're going to cut the arts budget, then what the hell's the point of fighting? There's that, and then that idea that so much of the great art that has been made in the last, I don't know, 2,000 years has happened at moments of great uncertainty, at moments of great pain, and I mean, we see it on a smaller scale too. Whenever we look at like the last recession that we had and seeing the companies that came out of that, there is something to these times that happen where it just forces people to have to think a little bit differently. And it kind of gets to that, what people constantly say, like, normal life is gone. Like what we thought was normal is no longer here. And I think there's two different ways to look at that. I think there's the anxious way, and where you're just kind of in a panic of like, oh my God, nothing is ever going to be the same again. And then there's the way of looking at it as an opportunity. And I mean, so far what I've seen, you're seeing those two things. You're seeing some people just shut down completely. As I just wrote a blog post actually about this, where like I'm seeing some people are just shutting down. They don't want to do anything, or they don't want to be involved. And then you have the people that I feel like are kind of running into the fire, like, because they're like, all right, how do we help? Let's do it. Like, we know we have to act quickly. And, we're seeing people that, we're seeing dozens and dozens and thousands of people now making masks that never made masks before. So it's like, that's really cool whenever we can start seeing people be creative about how they go about helping people. You certainly have the people that, will say like, I mean, I'm guilty of this too. I've said it for years where I was like, no, we're not doctors. We're not like heart surgeons. We're not that important to the world. But whenever something like this happens, for me, I was like, damn, like how there's got to be at least some way to help even a little bit. And it's like, I think that's kind of, I don't know. I think that's what we do, I think that's important.
I think too, we got to remember that you know, we all contribute to society and with our own talents and what we do best. I mean, imagine all the people sitting at home right now without Netflix and all of the content that creatives have been working on for years and years and years that are keeping people sane and not, you know, from killing each other, or
Yeah.
the great books that people are reading to get through this, or, you know, so, you know, people need creators, you know, whether they're, I mean, obviously the people on the front lines are the real heroes, no doubt about it. But, you know, all of the people that create and bring little rays of light into people's days, whether it's through their photography or their writing or their funny jokes, their, you know, whatever, it helps people get through it. And, you know, like you mentioned with the Churchill quote, Matt, like if we don't have those things that, you know, keep us human and keep us feeling alive every day, then what's the point of fighting for any of it, you know?
Yeah. Very cool. Anybody else want to add anything?
Yeah, I was in a meeting earlier today, and I heard somebody describe what we're going through as grieving. And, you know, certainly there are people that are actually grieving that have been directly impacted, and we hear all the stories. But if you step back from it a little bit, that really rings true because so many things have changed. We've lost all the ways that we did everything. You know, if you roll back to January or, you know, part of February, and you think about work that was being done, you know, some of us already work from home, some of us travel, some of us are on site with clients. You know, for us to throw the brakes on completely, it was a big change. And, you know, I think that has profound impact. And what ends up happening, I think, you know, creativity always matters, but right now, I think people are just working their way through different levels of the grieving process. Some people, you know, like you said, it hit them hard really fast, and then they, you know, their decision was to step forward and get up on the front line, and, you know, other folks have kind of squirreled away because they just don't know how to make sense of it, or are feeling very anxious about all aspects of this. I mean, this is impacting lives, the economy. People are afraid where their paycheck will come from. Some people are getting support from the government, others are not. You know, we're dealing with things that we've never had to deal with. And I think when I heard somebody describe it as grief, it gives you permission to say, okay, this is hard, and I have to think about where I'm at in this. You know, if you think about the steps of grieving, there's all kinds of things tucked in that. I don't have them memorized, but, you know, you go through denial, you know, you get angry, you know, all those real emotions that we're going through. But the thing that I've seen happen, I think within the past couple of weeks, maybe, is people are starting, and I'll even, you know, speaking for myself, I've had a greater desire to be more creative, just to make things, just to shake up the monotony of, you know, all of us sitting at home and trapped on video conference calls. And, you know, some people are expert extroverts, others are introverts, but I think I've seen, you know, if you look across some of social media and YouTube and Instagram and so forth, there's just so much more of a desire to express yourself creatively. And I think that's great for all of us. You know, it seems like the doors have been kicked open on a lot of traditional creative outlets. Think about all the concerts that we won't be going to for a little while, but you're starting to see all these people performing from home, you know, opening up their doors and doing a live stream from their basement, you know, like Will Smith in his garage. We would never have that kind of access as a consumer in the past. And so I think you're really starting to see how creative we really truly can be, and all of those big, Hollywood models and television models and everything else that we're used to living with. Think of how much user-generated content is being created right now while we're on this call, and I think it does matter. We needed to sort our way through it, and some of us are not ready to be, expressing ourselves creatively. Others are, way out ahead of that.
Yeah, definitely. I think there's a lot of good points there for sure. We could do one more quick one if we have here before we go on to the next question thing. All right. So real quick, what I want to do is kind of take a little bit of a step back and kind of talk about what I'm trying to do, kind of going towards that idea of how do we help with what we have, what skill sets we have, and how we can help in that time. So honestly, I was going to take the year off with Making Midwest. I needed a little bit of a break. It was getting to be a little bit much, and I was trying to think of a way to kind of change everything that we were doing about it to just make it interesting for myself and for other people that kind of show up. So real quick, I just want to talk about it for like 5 minutes, and then kind of we'll get back to some more questions on some other stuff. Anyway, so season 6, Making Midwest. A few of you have been around for a while. Faith, you've been around since like the 2nd year or 3rd year, I think, right?
Wow.
Something like that. Yeah. Charles, he's been there since the very beginning. Oh, Charles. Anybody else? Yeah, I don't know. The last 6 years have been a lot of fun for me. A little bit stressful at times. Anybody that's ever talked to me about this, I've always said, like, I'm not an event planner of any sort. I'm just somebody that has an idea that does whatever the hell he has to do to make it work. And starting at the very beginning, Charles remembers we had like 8 or 10 people in a bar, and that's kind of how this got going. And my goal has always been to just try to support the creative community the best way that I can. And to be honest, I don't know what that answer is most of the time. A lot of it is just trying stuff and see how people respond to it. So like I said, I wasn't going to do it this year, but then, with all this happening, I was like, wow, I feel like it's a really great, time out, 1 second. Sorry, guys. My kid wants to come in and he's just naked. Like, absolutely not. He's just not listening at all right now. Anyway, so initially I wasn't going to do it, but then I was thinking that I feel like this is a really great time to try something new and to try to help as many people as we can, and try to provide some kind of joy, I guess, at this time. And initially I was like, okay, well, I'll just do like a couple workshops. And I ended up asking a truckload of people like I usually do. And this year we're going to have 15 workshops starting in mid-June-ish. I have the dates kind of figured out, but and they're going to go up until the end of August. Some weeks we'll have 2 workshops, some will have just 1. But I didn't want to do a single weekend and make everyone sit at the computer all weekend. I could never be okay with that idea of just, people work all week long and then they want to just sit at the computer for the weekend. I don't know. So trying to spread things out as much as we can here and try to do something a little bit different, right? So season 6 is going to start June, I believe, 19th. Some of the presenters that we have here. So most notably probably is Aaron Draplin. He's going to do probably a really weird workshop like he kind of usually does, where he's actually going to do a two-part workshop where he's going to kind of design stuff and people are going to design stuff along with him. And I don't know exactly what he has planned, but I'm sure it's a lot of fun. A few other people that we have here. We have Raquel. She is a poet. We have Alan Peters over there. He's going to design badges. Jake Lassie's going to talk about probably freelancing kind of stuff, I believe. We have Valerie over there. She is a fashion designer. We're still working out exactly what she's going to be talking about. And then we have Dave Beers. He is going to be our first international presenter that we've ever had. Became good friends with Dave over the last year, and he is very smart when it comes to anything creativity. So those are just 6 of the, I believe, 16 that we currently have planned. I'm going to announce the rest of them next week, probably Monday or Tuesday. And at that point, tickets will go on sale for all those things. And for right now, as of just a couple hours ago, I just released this. So season passes are now available. We're going to do $295 for a season pass, and that gets you into every single workshop that we're doing. The total of all those, $695. So here's the thing. This is the part where I wanted to help as much as I can. If you can afford it, awesome. If you can't, one of the things that kind of my big idea with this is that instead of sponsorship this year, where people, so sponsorship every year is just super difficult when it comes to this stuff. Trying to ask everybody that you know if they have any money, and it makes you feel like crap, but you do it because you believe in what you're doing. But this year, instead of just kind of asking for money to pay for what we're doing, we opened it up to scholarships. So basically, sponsors choose how many tickets they want to buy for the community. Now, currently we have 11 scholarships to give. I want to get up to 100. I don't know if it's going to happen, but that's kind of my goal right now, is that I want to get our community that's kind of doing well right now to be able to pay for people that maybe not going through great times right now, to pay for their ticket. If that's you, on the top of the website right now, there's a scholarships button, and you can apply for a free ticket. Most likely going to do a first come first serve kind of thing. So if that's you, do it immediately. But it's been really cool to, again, just like it is for most people, a lot of businesses are going through tough times too. So this has been a really difficult thing. I've been hearing no, probably more than I've ever heard no before, but it's what we do, right? So this is probably my favorite thing about what we're doing this year is, in an ideal world, I want this to be free for everybody. But it obviously costs money to get presenters that are experts at what they do to kind of give these workshops. So yeah, that's all I have about that. If you guys have any questions about it, you can kind of ask me at any point, or and like I was saying, season passes are available right now. First 10 people, we're going to do t-shirts for them as well. We're going to have to limit this at some point. I don't know what that limit's going to be just yet. I'm not going to announce that until next week, but that is that. Cool. Everybody good? That didn't sound like a sales pitch, did it? A couple of you shaking your head. Heck yeah. That was a sales pitch. I'm getting the hell out of here. All right. So here we go. Okay. So next question coming back. Is this question that I've been kind of asking is, and I asked this question for a lot of people that are kind of recent graduates. Is anyone hiring right now? And I'm going to turn it to you guys. If you've seen anybody hiring, or have you noticed anyone in particular that is hiring? I'm not like looking for like applications or anything like that. I'm just kind of curious what you've seen when it comes to this idea of hiring people.
Part-time at the TV station. They are slowly bringing people back because we have a lot to work to do. We do the daily governor thing. So like I direct it, but we need help, so much help. So that's one.
Yeah. Did they let people go at any point? You said they're bringing people back.
No, we started covering a lot of video events, and we had part-timers, but all the part-timers, when the pandemic hit, they just kind of just didn't show up, right? So after they stopped showing up, there was like, okay, well, so now slowly we're getting busy and they want more people back.
Yeah. Nice. Anybody else? That was a bad question, isn't it? All right. All right. So now I'm gonna go straight to Audrey with this one. This is kind of sort of the question that she was asking. How you doing, Audrey?
Hi, good. How are you, Matt?
I'm good. All right. So is now a good time? Is now a good time freelance? Yeah, that's that's a good sentence. Huh?
Very, very tough question, I'm sure.
Yeah. Is now a good time to freelance? Or to kind of make the transition into freelancing? I thought that was, I don't know, as soon as you asked that, I was like, that's a really interesting question. Kind of going back to that last question a little bit, the students that I have, I was like, oh man, I wouldn't want to be you guys right now. Like you just graduate and then you enter a time like this. So I graduated in 2008. And that was the case for me, is as soon as I graduate, nobody's hiring. And I was like, it took I think it took 6 months before I got my first job out of school. And that's why I'm trying to prepare some of the students that I have for this possibility that it might take some time and not to get so hard on yourself whenever that happens. But kind of getting to this question now, is now a good time to freelance or transition from full-time to freelance? I don't know. I don't think there's a clear answer for this, because I think a lot of it depends on how you prepared for a transition. I mean, there's some people that can do this really well, like can make this transition at any point, depending on maybe some of the clients that they have, the opportunities that they have, I guess. But for somebody, like if you are somebody that, you have a full-time job and you're like, you know what, I'm going to quit this job so I can start this thing, I would have to say it's probably not the best time to do it. I mean, not that I would say like, I wouldn't say like, oh, wait a couple years. I wouldn't say that. But at the same time, it's like this month, I would say probably not the best idea. Once you see kind of how things start to go, I would say it would be a better time to be doing those things. But I guess my general thought about freelance is that I personally don't think that it should always be a flick of a switch. I think it's a gradual transition that should be made. And for me, whenever I did that, it was a lot of financial goals that I wanted to have in place before I kind of made this decision to freelance. Saving up, I don't know, the money that I needed. And luckily I did, because the first 3 months of freelancing was just awful. I think the first project I took on was like, it was like $500 for like 2 weeks of work. And I was like, oh shit, I left Space Junk for this. But luckily I say that it needs to be a transition, and I'm really glad that I saved up what I did, because it was basically when I got to the end of that runway where things started to kind of ramp up a little bit, because it just takes time to kind of start building these things up. But what I wish I would have done differently was just start building some of those relationships up a little bit earlier. And it's kind of difficult to do. If you don't have full time to do it, it's kind of difficult to do that. Otherwise, you're working 60, 80 hours a week. Some people tell you that's just how it has to work. I'm not one of those people, but yeah. What are your thoughts on that?
So I guess it's interesting because so I think like earlier this year, like very beginning of this year in January, I was like really prepping for the freelance transition, and luckily my boss, knew about it and was very supportive with it and everything. And so trying to get the the professional side amped up with like getting my domain for my website and like an LLC and like all those little things that, you know, really like solidified that whole professional package. And then it's funny because I went on vacation to Hawaii with my family right when all of this started unfolding, and it was interesting to be like across, you know, the seas to watch everything unfold from the other side. And I think I posted something on LinkedIn at the time, and I was like, hey, freelancers, like what's going on over there? Like, what are we coming back to? And so just trying to gauge like obviously no one knew what was going to happen. I mean, and here we are, we still don't really know. But I guess to that point, I guess my question now is like, what can freelancers do, or at least people wanting to freelance do to prepare, or at least like use their time wisely in this time to, you know, kind of prep for that transition, whatever that may be, you know?
Yeah, I'm right ahead of you. See this one? I wrote this one, right? What should you be doing right now? I think that, I mean, I guess what I would say is sort of what my response would be is, you should be building relationships. I think that's always an important thing to do, even if you don't have anything to sell, to be building relationships. And building relationships and building a portfolio at the same time. I think that like being prepared with things like transitioning to an LLC and getting all that stuff done, that's really good. I mean, obviously, like to be legal, that's important. That is one of those things, however, that's always more important to you than it is to other people. So it's kind of weird to, I don't know, like, you do get really excited when you do that, but at the same time, it's like, that's not even close to the most important thing you got to do. But having all that stuff set up and trying to have as much of an understanding as you can about that stuff is important. But the most important thing is having those relationships that you can kind of build on, and finding potential clients that could use you for kind of a little bit more often. And I think that's where, again, when I say like a lot of this is kind of a slow transition sometimes. I think whenever it's done right, it's a slow transition anyway. Yeah, I'm gonna open up to other people. What do you guys think? What should Audrey be doing right now? Mike?
What do
Well,
you want to be doing right now?
I'll just briefly say, I think it's, you know, when it first hit at Space Junk, you know, our instinct was bring everything in house. You know, if you don't, because we always have freelancers going, and you know, our first instinct was bring everything in house, keep as much money in house as we can. We're already back, you know, using some freelancers right now, and I think it's potentially a good time too for freelancers, even though that first statement makes not seem so, because I think people are going to be a little cautious to hire for a while, but they're going to get work. And I think if they're a little cautious to hire, but there is going to be some work coming in, the first instinct is going to go freelance, I think, to make sure that, you know, you're not investing too much in something that might be ephemeral. So there might be some of these jobs come in, and, you know, you don't know if this is a trend that you're going to start getting more work and you should hire. I think people will be cautious for a little bit, and caution on hiring should lead to more work for freelancers. So we'll see. I think that there's, you know, you can look at it from either side. Obviously, less work overall means less work for everyone. So it's hard to say. As far as what you should be doing right now, you know, I think, you know, what Audrey's been doing, you know, she's been learning a ton of 3D, and then also posting that, I think, is great, because you're continuing to see work. I always tell freelancers that reach out to me, it's like, just stay in touch with me. Don't ever feel like you're bothering me. Email me stuff every few months. Just email me with links to new work, because then you'll stay top of mind for me. And then one of those things I'll remember, you know, when a job comes along, I'll be like, remember that video that so-and-so sent me? You know, I should call her. She'd be great for this, or whatever. So I think posting your work and continuing to grow your skill set is important. It's actually all the same things you should just always be doing. Continuing to grow your skill set, keeping your name and your work out there. And like you said, Matt, building relationships is always key. And now's the perfect time. People that you know, shoot them a text and say, hey, how's it going? You know, how are you doing? How's your family doing? How are your kids doing? during this. And, it's obviously a good thing to do as a human being, but as a freelancer, it's a great way to just keep your network going and be fresh in people's minds too. So it's probably all the same things that a freelancer should always be doing: growing your skill set, getting your work out there, and keeping your relationships up and growing your network.
Yeah. I think it's a really good point, especially that idea of, as a freelancer, you have to kind of deal with this idea of like business development. And I think that it's probably the most awkward thing for an artist, for a creative, to shift their brain a little bit into that side of things, where they have to think about those relationships and how you go about creating them and how salesy you get. And I love that idea of just see how people are doing. That's really all it takes sometimes. There's definitely been people that have just sent me a message about something completely random, and I'm like, hey, you busy in 2 weeks from now? So I love that idea too. That's good. Somebody else is starting to talk too. Who is that? Wasn't there somebody else?
I was just saying, what do you want to be doing right now?
Audrey?
Oh, that was a question for me.
Yeah.
She was asking me.
Hey, Lydia. So as far as like what I want to be doing, as far as work goes?
As far as life goes.
Oh, as far as life goes. Yeah, so it's interesting because the industry that I'm in right now is almost the complete opposite of what I want to like in the future be doing. So I'm trying to work on the skills right now, and that's pretty much like motion graphics, concept art, design for entertainment, style frames for motion, that kind of thing. So much more conceptual kind of work. I'm trying to kind of create my own projects and, just create the briefs and stuff from there, and then try to create some kind of portfolio piece and stuff to show off from there. If it doesn't exist already, you got to make it yourself. So, but yeah.
Lydia, rebuttal?
I was just going to get into no matter what people think they should be doing right now, like if anyone's feeling any level of burnout and you have the time, this is the perfect time to actually take a break. If you don't have the time, then of course you can't, but use any of that to actually take time for yourself.
That's good advice.
About what you want to do next, whatever it is.
I think that's a really good point. That's something I've been struggling with myself, honestly, is this idea of like, I don't know, when things like this happen, you're like, okay, what should I be doing right now? And like, what do I want to be doing? And it's like, well, I want to honestly just take a 2-month vacation and just not have to worry about any of that stuff. Not as easy as that, but I mean, that's kind of, again, what kind of led me back to making Midwest, because I'm like, man, I'd really love to do that right now. So I'm just going to do that. But yeah, I think that's good advice. Anybody else want to jump in with kind of any other kind of pieces of advice, not necessarily just for Audrey, but just kind of in general of what you think that something that you think is important right now at this very moment on May 14th, 2020?
I have more of a question. In terms of like my process, I was like making the first month, and now I'm kind of like, I just want to play video games, right? So like it was like, oh, I'm so creative, I'm making all these things, and then I'm like, I just want to not do anything right now, and then maybe go back to work when it's all done. Like, but the question is like, is anybody else feeling that issue? I guess.
Dude, I'm totally there. So in the last, I'm right. So in that first month, I was like, idea. Each week, I had 3 weeks in a row, big ideas. And the last 2 weeks now, I've played Uncharted 1, I've played Uncharted 2, and I'm almost done with that one. And then a couple other games. And it's really weird for me. It's like nostalgia is like playing such an important role in all of this for me, where it's like, man, like that's whenever things are not happy out there, Like just looking back to when I was a kid is making me super happy right now. I don't know. It's weird.
It's like comfort food, you know, nostalgia.
Yep.
It's like
For
wrapping
sure.
yourself in a little blanket. That's something that you know and that is comfortable. Makes sense. I've been playing a lot of Minecraft with my kid.
Nice. My wife was kind of making fun of me a little bit. This is embarrassing, but I'm gonna say it anyway. We were like driving down the freeway and I saw the Schmitz truck and I was like, what I wouldn't give for a Bahama Mama right now. I'm like, it literally brought like a little tear in my eye. I was like I don't think I've ever had a food from a place that like felt like it was as homemade as that place. I'm like, there's just something about it. I don't know. Brought a little tear to my eye. Is that the little one playing Minecraft?
That's Mia. You want to say hi?
Hi.
Hey.
Want to bed?
Good night. Yeah, and I think that's a great point though of just that idea of kind of stepping back and sort of what Lydia was saying too, and like I don't know, sometimes it just feels good to not do anything. But for me anyway, it is a little bit tough to not feel guilty, at least a little bit, about that. Anybody else got anything to add here?
I was going to add, I'm working from home as much as I would if I was still going into the office, and have been since February 27th. And definitely getting that burnout of wake up, work, and then that period of time of, you know, trying to stop working at between 6 and 9, not working too late every day, and going to bed. What do I do in that time? Playing a lot of video games. And then the next day, waking up, working, but not wanting to, and wanting to play video games, but getting that creative itch again that I had back in school days that really haven't gotten to exercise much in the last several years. So I think what you should be doing is identifying those pulls towards, you know, the different ideas that you're having, and really, if you have the time, to act on those and try to make something. But if you're not feeling it, don't force it. Do something that you're interested in doing, and whether it's playing Minecraft or Final Fantasy VII or going for a walk, or, you know, whatever it is to pass the time. I think that's a really important thing to help keep sane.
For sure. Yeah, I like that a lot. All right, I'm gonna go to the next one here. Last two questions I believe that I had are probably my favorite ones. This is where we all look into our crystal balls and we say, all right, things are obviously different right now, but what do you think that things will be like in whatever creative industry you're in by the time October comes around? And the reason that I say October is because that's the start of the fourth quarter of the year, right? That's where everyone, well, most businesses anyway, you know, their budgets end at the end of December. So quarter four is wherever they decide what they're going to kind of spend their budgets on. Do we think that in October people are going to be like, nope, or is it going to be just a huge spending fest? I leave it up to you guys.
Hello?
Hey.
Hey. Well, I work right now in higher ed. So for me, October is going to be a big month because, you know, right now all our summer semesters are online. So no one knows if we're going to be back in school in the fall. And I know another university where I'm from is on a hiring freeze until June of 2021. So it's like some places are like bunkering down for the long haul. But yeah, October for me is like make or break. We're either going to be open or not. And if we're not, I don't know what's going to happen.
Stuff. If you don't mind me asking, what school do you work at?
I work at Washtenaw Community College
Where's
in
that at?
Michigan.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Very nice. I think that's a really interesting thing that I've been thinking about myself. So, as far as school in general, like what happens with colleges? Are people still going to want to go to college if they have to just do it online next year? Is that even going to be an option at some places? Yeah, I don't know. What do you think?
For the fall, I have no idea. So it could, because I'm at a community college, it could be actually beneficial, because kids aren't getting the dorm room experience. So then why do it? Or it could hurt, because now people could go online everywhere. So why do it at a community college, except for it's cheaper, of course.
Yeah. So one of the other things, I recently started watching Community. Turns out that's an amazing show.
I love that show.
Very good. All right. Somebody else? Can you guys hear my baby screaming in the background? No? All right, good. If you can't, just let me know. I'll mute my mic.
Matt, my fear is that October might look a lot like May, and that's kind of what worries me, is that it's not going to look a whole lot different. I think we got to figure out a way to get our kids back in school, because the economy is not really going to be able to truly open up until that happens. But of course, the health aspect of that has to be, first and foremost. So I don't know that it's going to look that different. I'm worried that it's not, but I don't know.
Yeah.
That's the answer.
Chill the mood here, Mike. Oh, very good. All right, I'm gonna go to the last one here. So, what do we think that things are gonna look like as far as creativity goes 5 years from now? Again, we know, everyone's saying it, we know that normal is over. There is a new normal that's going to take its place. And 5 years from now, when it comes to creative industries, is it going to be something like we see a lot more people hiring freelancers? Is it going to be something where we see everyone kind of working in-house? Is it going to be nobody has an office anymore? I'm curious what some of your guys' thoughts are on 5 years from now. How does your work look?
So I'll start with that because Olive, where I work right now, is a good example that they just changed their working model to no longer having an HQ. Like we don't have an in-house anymore. It's kind of like if we want to go work at the Columbus, hub as they call it, then we can. And they're trying to initiate having like hubs around the country and stuff since we're hiring more across the country now. And so it's just been like hiring like week after week. So it's kind of been an interesting thing to see that really nothing has really changed from Olive's perspective. It's just everyone's working remote right now. But as of, I think it was like last Friday, as of then, it was announced that that's just going to be how it is now. And I've been seeing other companies too. I think Twitter is doing a similar thing where, there's no longer like you need to work at a certain place anymore. I think everything can be remote if it needs to be. So yeah, I feel like that's just going to kind of be the new normal. People are learning that they don't have to work at a certain place in order to be productive, and people are learning what their productivity is in other places and stuff. So yeah, I feel like that's just going to be how it is. I don't know.
Well, let me ask you this real quick. What if, so this is, a lot of people want to go freelance, so I'm gonna bring this back. but I always ask like what the reasons are for it. And a big part of it is that people say that they want to be able to work from home. So you're able to work from home now, does that change your mind at all?
No, actually, and this is funny because this is kind of a nice taste of like seeing what like going freelance would be like working from home. But that's really, luckily, that's not really one of the reasons I wanted to in the first place. It's more about, you know, getting different kinds of work and stuff and just having different projects and relationships and stuff. But yeah, I think it's interesting like having a taste of like what that is like now and learning like, am I more productive this way, or do I need to be around productive people to feel productive and that kind of thing? But I think a good mix of that is definitely healthy for me, at least.
Yeah, I saw somebody else with a mic on up here. A couple of you.
Hey.
Faith, you want to go ahead?
Yeah. So I was just gonna pipe in and say like basically the same. I feel like working for a company at home is way different than working for yourself at home. Currently, I'm contracting with Bath and Body Works right now. But I feel like there's definitely a big difference between working with your own clients and like people rather than working for a big company where there's just like a ton of stuff going on. You're not exactly sure what's going on. You can control everything when it's your own baby, basically. So freelance is definitely the way to go.
Plus, did anyone see that NPR article about the like companies forcing their at-home employees to install like really aggressive tracking software?
I have heard about that actually.
That
Like
I
screenshots every 10 minutes of your screen and stuff, and yeah, super intrusive.
It's nuts, and it kind of bummed me out because I've worked in-house pretty much my whole career, and they have everywhere I've worked has been adamant against work from home. So I love working from home. And I would love to keep doing it, but I also don't want to install anything on my phone so they know where I am.
Yeah, that's kind of weird.
Black Mirror stuff happening.
Yeah. Didn't they say that they weren't making any Black Mirror episodes because they're like, it's just look outside or something like that?
Yeah, I saw that.
We're living one.
That's weird. We could do, let me see real quick here. I could do one more before we kind of wrap things up if anybody else wants to go. I saw somebody else with a mic on a little bit ago. Wasn't sure if you wanted to say anything. All right.
I think we'll all have like the Parks and Rec hologram meeting options in 5 years. Someone's gonna
Yeah.
make the best one.
Yeah. All right. So last question's not on here. What are you guys watching right now? Anything good?
I watched Ozark.
Any good?
Fantastic.
It's intense.
Very.
I haven't started that yet.
Very good.
I'm watching Silicon Valley right now. I freaking love that show. It's really good.
So funny.
And I'm about to start Lost again for like the second or third time. I think it's a good time to start Lost. I don't know.
Plenty of time.
It's true.
Nostalgia, Matt.
It is. That's it. That's it. That's yeah. Anything else?
His Dark Materials. Anyone?
What is that?
The Golden Compass.
Oh.
It's based off a series of books, and The Golden Compass was a movie. It had Nicole Kidman in it a few years ago, but they made it into a
It was
series.
very good. How's the series?
I like it a lot better than the movie. So, but I read the books too. It's got a bunch of people in it. Lin-Manuel Miranda's in it. Like, it's kind of cool. It's fantasy, so.
Yeah.
Very good. All right. So before I say bye, hey, look at this design right here. Audrey did this, guys. Everybody say good job to Audrey. Hey, Audrey.
Very nice.
She like whipped this up in like 10 minutes. It probably wasn't 10 minutes, but super cool.
Well.
So thank you for that. Yeah, you know, my hope is to do these kinds of things a little bit more often. See some faces hear some voices that are not a 6-year-old screaming at me asking to use the Google Cardboard VR thing all day long like he's been doing today. But we'll bear it. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. And again, if you're not on Slack right now, you can get on there and we can talk all about more movies and shows that we're watching and other things. Cool. All right.
Matt, thank you. Thanks for putting this together.
Thanks a ton, Matt.
Thanks, Matt.
Thank you.
Nice work.
You guys. Was expecting the gratitude. All right. Okay.
Don't make him cry.
Yeah. Listen, you know I'm emotional right now. All right. Goodbye, everybody. It's been fun.
Bye.
Bye.